You got to give credit where credit's due to the Memphis Grizzlies. My final thoughts on this team: I think they just need better. I think they need a guy long term for 3-point shooting.
Yes, I agree.
All right, let's move on here as we go down this Western Conference that is stacked. Let's go to Mr. Dwight Howard and James Harden in Houston. And Cameron, this team so far, James Harden has obviously been the man ever since he left OKC. And with the signing of Dwight Howard, they've been, the duo. These two guys have really just worked together. I mean, I love watching. I think their best player offensively and defensively wise, Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard all the way. This guy can block, make rebounds, and make points. Period.
Yeah, I think when you look at like fundamentals and well defense, we know it's Howard, but and I've always been a huge supporter of Dwight Howard. I just think Harden, since Howard's been hurt, Howard's kind of having to battle injuries. Harden, I have to give a lot of credit to him just for the fact that I'm a huge critic of James Harden, and he's basically silenced me throughout this entire year. He's gotten better on defense. He's getting steals. He's on offense. He's becoming more cognizant of trying to make other people better. And we know how great of a shooter he is. He's become more efficient. And when Harden and Howard are going, they're unstoppable. I mean, when they're both having great games, I mean, they're a team. If they get some good matchups, they could be in the Western Conference Finals or maybe even the finals.
And also, I have to say the one big signing they made was Trevor Ariza. I think Trevor Ariza really does help out this team. His numbers really do show it. And he's getting a lot of minutes. He's getting 38 minutes per game. That's more than any other player on the Houston Rockets. So Ariza, I think I also have to give credit to Ariza. I mean, this guy's just stepping up, and that was just a huge signing for Houston. Not getting Bosch, but they're getting Trevor Ariza. Trevor Ariza, man, from the Wizards, I thought that was a huge signing for them, period. And what I also loved about the Houston Rockets was getting Corey Brewer. I know this guy's been struggling all year long, but I think moving to a different team, to a new environment, is really going to help out Corey Brewer. And he already played in one game and got 12 points.
Yeah, Corey Brewer just fits that team so well because of how fast they play. And Corey Brewer is a fast break transition player. And I think the one thing about Brewer, he's such an athletic defender. And then you look at Ariza, he's such a tough guy. He's such a high IQ player and a great defender as well, and a great 3-point shooter too. They need that. They need defense because last year against Portland, whenever they needed to get a stop, they couldn't get it. And I think now with Ariza and Brewer, they've gotten much better defensively.
And my final thoughts for the Houston Rockets, this team is just unbelievable. I mean, Patrick Beverley, James Harden, Trevor Ariza, Terrence Jones, Dwight Howard, Corey Brewer. I also gotta love Jason Terry on this team as well. I mean, this team is just stacked. I mean, bench wise and their starting lineup.
Yeah, they're stacked, and if they can get hot at the end of the year, and if everybody is healthy, that's a big thing with Houston. Everybody has to be healthy and rolling if they're going to get to the finals.
And another team that has made some trades over this during the season, a big one was Rajon Rondo for the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, Cameron, I think Dallas is. I mean, besides the Golden State Warriors, I love watching Dallas. And simply because they got Rajon Rondo now. I mean, what do you got? Rondo, you have Monte Ellis, Chandler Parsons, Dirk Nowitzki, and Tyson Chandler. Man, I love hearing those names. I mean, Monte Ellis, obviously, he's been the go-to guy so far. And Dirk Nowitzki has been taking pay cuts because he wants Mark Cuban to get more guys. Chandler Parsons was huge, and Chandler Parsons did not like Houston, period. And I'm glad Houston did not match it because Chandler Parsons really does fit well with the Dallas Mavericks. And Dirk Nowitzki, I mean, I know this guy's going to retire in probably 1 to 2 years, but damn, give Dirk respect. He just wants to win a championship this year. It doesn't matter. He doesn't matter about the money. He just wants to get the guys to do it. And Rondo, he's going to be the guy that just passes the ball around. And that's something they just really needed.
They needed the setup men and Rondo. And this team kind of is like the 2011 Mavericks team because you have Barea and Tyson Chandler on the team, and they were X factors during that run, and they could be huge X factors in the playoffs as well. We know what Barea and Chandler can do, and I just again the one thing about Rondo, and he's a great player, and just overall this trade in this team, they kind of have the same issue like Portland with the bench. Because, yeah, it's good, but it's not great. Portland and Dallas are the two teams in the West that need the starting five to play out of their mind in order to win. And I don't know if they can do that 3 straight series in a row. And it's just going to be tough for teams like Portland and Dallas to get to the finals.
And one thing I'm worried about is the bench. You know, they lost some big guys as well. You lose Brandon Wright, and he's been a huge guy protectively off the bench. You lose Jameer Nelson and Jay Crowder. I think losing Brandon Wright was probably the biggest loss. I thought, you know, they wouldn't have gotten rid of him, but you know, they're gonna have to deal with some of the consequences. I think the bench is really gonna have to step up for Dallas. I mean, you have a great top 5 lineup, but you really just gotta get the bench, and I think that's gonna be something that's gonna be an issue with Dallas. But I love watching the starting 5.
Yeah, the starting Portland and Dallas. I mean, we could just say this: they have the 2 best starting 5s in the league.
They're probably gonna be the most consistent. Most consistent starting 5, I would have to say. And Rondo, I mean, this guy doesn't have to shoot, period. I mean, I just want him to just give it off to everybody, you know, give it off to Dirk, give it off to Ellis, give it off to Parsons, give it off to Tyson Chandler. And I have to say, Tyson Chandler made a smart move not going, Mark Cuban, my bad. Mark Cuban made the smart decision by getting Tyson Chandler back because I did not see Tyson Chandler in New York anymore. He was just struggling in New York, and now he comes back and has been playing terrific ball for the Dallas Mavericks. Final thoughts, I want to say, Monte Ellis, I mean, this guy still has been the high scorer, and I'm glad he went to Dallas. As a Warriors fan, I just didn't see Steph Curry and Monte Ellis working together. Dirk Nowitzki, I have so much respect for ever since I watched him play when I was little, and this guy is just proving it more and more, taking pay cuts, being a leader on this team. Chandler Parsons making the move to Dallas, and I'm glad Houston didn't match it because Chandler Parsons just fitting so well, and also getting Rondo with just the assists per game. He's going to get double digits in assists this season.
Rondo, his assist totals are ridiculous. I mean, they're just sometimes it's impossible to comprehend, you know, his assist totals. But I think as great as Dallas is, you just have to wonder: is there going to be a time when they're going to need their bench, and will the bench come through? Because that's just the big question I have.
I think it's going to be playoff time. That's what I think. But let's move on to another team that has kind of had a tough road this year, I have to say. Cameron, I don't know if you're going to agree with me on this, but the LA Clippers. The Clips. And 3 guys that have really stepped up, Blake Griffin, Chris Paul, Jamal Crawford, JJ Redick, and you have DeAndre Jordan, who's leading in rebounds, this season. Cameron, this team has looked a lot different to me. Matt Barnes has been really inconsistent this year. Obviously, he hasn't really been the big guy, but still, I think Matt Barnes, he has his big nights and doesn't have his big nights. DeAndre Jordan, I mean, this guy is freaking huge. And I love watching DeAndre because he's just so physical. Blake Griffin, the dunks, obviously, but this guy's just making points. And Chris Paul, and I love how Jamal Crawford has been that guy in that starting lineup this year.
I like the Clippers a lot. I mean, with their talent, I mean, their talent can compete with anybody. I think they fall back to their old ways, their old, habits, and they struggle to break them. And I don't know if that's coaching because I like Doc Rivers a lot, or maybe the players are not responding well to Doc Rivers. But at times they start playing one-on-one basketball, and everybody starts to do it by themselves because they have so many ball-dominant, talented guys. They almost forget about the team concept, and late in games they won't get the best shot, and they really struggle late in games with execution. I think anytime it's a close ball game, we saw it against Oklahoma City. Chris Paul will try to do it himself and try to create. And sometimes he'll play against really good defenses like a Memphis or like an Oklahoma City, and you just can't get a bucket because you're not getting good shots, you're not moving the ball. And I think if the Clippers can somehow just buy in to the team concept Doc Rivers keeps preaching, then the team will make a big step. But until then, they're going to stay at where they are at until they make that big jump.
And something I have an issue with this team is, the shooting guards between Jamal Crawford and J.J. Redick. Obviously, J.J. Redick starts, but, I mean, when is it time for Jamal Crawford to start for this team?
I think that Jamal Crawford shouldn't start because Jamal Crawford is not that great of a defender. He's pretty old. I don't want to say too old, but he's up there in age. Redick is younger. Redick is better because Redick is better for the starting lineup. Yes, Jamal Crawford's more talented, but for what they need in the starting lineup, they need a guy who's willing to just take shots whenever they're there. Crawford will sometimes go possession after possession, chucking up threes and go completely out of the offense. And I think Redick is so under control. That's why I would, keep Redick in there and keep Crawford to score on the bench, off the bench.
Yeah, because he's such a good guy that comes off the bench and gives them momentum. I can agree with that. Final thoughts. I'm a little shocked that their best guy for points this year is Blake Griffin. I thought, maybe it'd be Chris Paul, but Chris Paul is obviously the guy that gives the assists this year. I'm loving DeAndre Jordan. I think this guy just gets better and better every year, and I love his physicality. I love his personality. Very funny guy, and I just love DeAndre Jordan. Probably one of my favorite centers in this league.
DeAndre Jordan is, again, he's, like you said, very entertaining. And he's a very solid big man. I think, he's maybe the most athletic big man in the league. And I think, if DeAndre can use his big presence down low and continue to block shots, the Clippers, they're going to be a tough team. But again, it's the ball movement and just and trust. I think that's the key word for the Clippers. It's trust. I don't think they always trust each other late in games. That's just my opinion.
But I have to say one thing. I think DeAndre Jordan reminds me of a Jordan Hunter.
Okay.
I think personality-wise.
All right.
Personality-wise, obviously not height, but...
Okay, all right.
But I'll tell him that later. Well, let's move on. Let's move on to guys that are going to be in the NBA Hall of Fame sooner or later. The San Antonio Spurs. You got Tony Parker